Give me 1 second. I'm gonna take a picture of this. So.
You're good. Take your time.
And we are live. So you can catch us on Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And this should be a good one today. We're talking about the war between Palestine and Israel. Struggle. So we'll be right back with you, Howlers. We'll be right back.
Howls of a Bass. I'm Ronnie Adams.
And I'm Jacob Casas. And this episode is called The Struggle. We're doing something a little different today. We're talking about the struggle, the war between Palestine and Israel. So we have a special guest today. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and tell you people who he is, and we'll go from there.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Mohammed. I am a Palestinian American, born and raised in California as well as the Middle East. Have a lot of knowledge on the ongoing struggle for the Palestinian justice that I hope to share with you guys today. I'm more than honored that they had me on the show today, so we're hoping to get you guys an objective view of the situation as it is right now.
Let's go.
And if you guys have any questions, this is a big topic. This is hot everywhere around the world. So please chime in, share, like, subscribe, and go to your friends and ask them to chime in so we can get some chats going about this serious matter that we got going on across the world.
Yeah. See, this. We don't get too political in here, but this is gonna be a different podcast right here. We're just debating, talking. You know how we go. So let's start out. So we wanted to go ahead and go first on, like we were talking a little behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Kind of going, how did this whole thing start? We were talking about the very beginning of this. Do you want to give the people that don't know like an education of how your side of things, because I know a lot of people are going to be angry watching this as well. So you got to understand, we're going to be talking about the struggle, but we're also going to be he's from Palestine, so you got to understand this is going to be his view too, but he's coming with facts on things. He's not coming unprepared. So let's just know that anybody is welcome to come on this show from Israel, anywhere. I mean, if you guys even want to come in and talk with them later, you guys can have a talk together about it. That'd be great.
Exactly.
But what I want to do is I want you to understand he's here as a guest to talk about this. Whoever has, ideas that they're not happy with on it, he's here to talk, listen, let's go, let's have a good show. Let's make it happen. So let's start out with that. So educate any of them about how this whole thing started, like we were talking about at the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So, in order to kind of understand or grasp an understanding of the whole situation of the Palestinian struggle and their fight for justice, it kind of goes back to the late 1800s with the birth of what's called Zionism. Now, Zionism in itself has a correlation mildly to the religion of Judaism. Right, so Theodore Herzl was the father of Zionism out in Europe, and his idea of what the goal was to create a national homeland for the Jewish people. Now, in order to do so, their kind of concept was limited in the sense of where would they be able to establish this homeland. They kind of had it narrowed down to a few options, which was documented in Theodor Herzl's book, Der Judenstaat, which translates to the Jewish state. And in this book, he kind of outlines and pretty much explains what is necessary for them to achieve this ultimate goal, which is a national establishment for the Jewish people. And the two options they had, as I was saying, was either between Argentina and Palestine. Now, they opted for the Palestinian territory for, one main reason, for its connectivity to the holy religion of Judaism. So they felt that it would prove easier to kind of convince the Jewish people from around the globe to pick up their homes, whether it be in Poland, Russia, Belgium, wherever they may be, to pick up, uproot themselves, and establish themselves in a territory that belonged to other people. Now, across the first quarter of the 20th century, you have what was the birth of organizations such as the World Zionist Organization. These people, right, found themselves intertwined with some of the leaders and the leading parties of foreign governments, such as the government of the UK and British, the British Empire, what have you. In 1917, there was a declaration called the Balfour Declaration of 1917, written by Arthur Balfour, who was at one point the Prime Minister for the UK. I believe it was 1902 to 1907. I could be correct by a few years. But he ended up drafting this proposal, this document, on behalf of the British government. In this document, it clearly outlines that the Jewish or the Zionist goal is to establish a national homeland for the Jewish people in, get this, in Palestine. So now you have a lot of people, a lot of Zionist supporters, a lot of pro-Israeli supporters that come out and they try to claim that there is no such thing as Palestine. There was never anything called Palestine, and they just try to erase or undermine the people that were there. Now, in their exact definition of what Zionism is, it clearly states to establish a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine.
Thank you for telling the people that, because I was waiting to interrupt, but that's important for so they can know what that Zionist means.
Exactly, yeah. So Zionism in itself it's in no way, shape, or form a religious belief.
No.
It is a political ideology, right? So the reason why it was so successful is they kind of intertwined it with Judaism, because they knew that by intertwining it with the actual Judaic beliefs and the guise and the veil of it being a Jewish movement, it would prove much easier for them to accomplish their goals, their geopolitical goals, in claiming that Palestinian territory for their own. So you have a lot of issues that kind of stem from that, and the conflict really started at that point when the Palestinian people themselves were not taken into consideration upon the agreement of an establishment of a Jewish state. So it kind of starts right there in the first quarter of the 20th century, with all of these superpowers kind of backing up the Zionist movement. And as I was telling you guys, in my research just the other day, as much as I've done research, and pretty sure everyone is familiar with the Balfour Declaration at this point, I came across a reading by Edward Said, who is a prominent Palestinian-born American scholar and professor. And so, in one of his books, he mentions a document that was pretty much buried. It took me about 2 days to find this document. That's how buried it was. So the Balfour Declaration was issued in November of 1917. 2 years later, there was another memorandum that was issued by Arthur Balfour, right? And I have a copy right here for you. And the language of this memorandum, although the Balfour Declaration didn't specify too harshly on favoring one over the other, it just kind of made the assumption that it would be, two nations cohabiting the land. This memorandum that was issued 2 years later explicitly negates any rights of the indigenous and sovereign population of Palestine. And like I said, it took me a while to find this.
How did you recover this information first? Because there's some vital information that you said you've been doing your research for a long time, and you haven't discovered any type of information like this. So how did you come across this information?
So when I first came across it, I was watching some interviews. I was doing some research, watching interviews with political scholars in regards to the Palestinian-Israeli issue. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that I came across is a Palestinian-born American scholar, Edward Said. Mm-hmm. So he has an interview in which he briefly mentioned the Balfour Mandate. Right, so he mentioned it just by a couple of words, and me being familiar with the Balfour Declaration, I was kind of curious as to what this mandate or the memorandum was. I've never heard of it. None of the people I've been around have heard of it. None of the Palestinians that I know have heard of it, and I just did a little digging. So it took me about 2 days of rewording my search criteria and digging in different resources, different sources, and I finally came across the actual copy of the document, and just to read it.
Before we get into
I got you.
How long has your study been, your research been on this particular topic, and how long have you your heart has been into it?
I mean, as long as I could remember, let's just say that, since I was a kid, being Palestinian, we're taught we grow up in a kind of state of mind where we don't really have a place to where we could call home. So we have the Palestinian territories as I was growing up.
So you've been taught that this has been a battle and this has been a struggle all
Exactly.
your life.
Exactly.
So they made sure that you understand that this has to be a special place in your heart.
Exactly. I mean, as anyone would have for their homeland, their ancestral homeland. There's a connection that can't really be explained, if you will. And Palestine itself being such a melting pot of culture and religion. It was where most monotheistic religions were manufactured. It was the home of Jesus, is the home of Christianity, Judaism. It is considered one of the holy places for all three monotheistic religions. So that being intertwined with being a Palestinian myself kind of fueled the fire in learning all of the facts that that are made available to us, because knowing the facts and being able to explain the facts to other people that don't really know the situation, that's the only way you're going to successfully fight for the struggle. Because at the end of the day, if you're sitting around and you don't really have any knowledge or any facts to back up your claims or what the reason why you're fighting for it, you're going to be standing in the dark, as they say.
So your whole main goal is to bring awareness to the people about enlighten them on the struggle that's been going on for years, so we can come together and try to figure out a better plan that's already been going on.
Yeah, I mean, among other things, that is one of the goals. I mean, the ultimate goal is the liberation and the freedom of our people.
Okay.
The liberation of our land from colonial, settler, racist regime. So that's the ultimate goal.
And awareness is the only way going to help it.
Exactly.
For people like you to come on platforms like this and share your heart.
Exactly.
Because we believe in freedom, and to a certain extent, you know that, but we're not free. I don't want to get into freedom, but at the end of the day, we still have that opportunity to share our freedom.
Exactly.
With our words.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you coming to share your words. And
we might not on YouTube. So like the thing is, we're on YouTube.
Right.
They might even take this off.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're on Rumble.
Yeah.
They ain't taking it off Rumble.
Good. They could try to censor.
We already know.
I mean,
that's why I said, hey, make sure we're on Rumble, because Rumble doesn't take off this political stuff.
Right.
So we already know the difference. So
you
they
gotta
might
be
remove
careful. Like we sometimes we have to think we have to be careful what we say. Yeah. Because it's.
But we're not
politics.
big enough. We can say what we want for now.
For now,
you know what I mean? And later on, like it's gonna get crazy.
Hopefully you guys are in the mentality of saying what you want when you want. For as long as.
Well, we are, but at the same time, if we get removed from YouTube, we're on Rumble. So it doesn't matter. It's still going to be there.
There's always going to be another platform. It's going to be another platform.
Yeah. I mean, because I know Twitch and all that stuff, they get a little finicky too. But YouTube really tries to silence people.
Yeah.
But we're not big enough. They're not going to even pay attention to us right now.
I mean, all over social media, you see that people's accounts being suspended, people's accounts being posted.
Right, definitely, especially in politics.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it comes to in politics, but if you look at like how much censorship has taken place just in the last like 38 days since this has taken place, it's insane. It's like absolutely, mind blowing. You have some of, us as Palestinians, we don't really have many media outlets that show us what's going on over there. So we rely on, people on the ground there, journalists, freelance journalists, the public people. They're the ones that kind of relay all of this information to us via means of social media and whatnot. So you have, a couple of the accounts that were, in a sense, the number one news source for what's going on in Palestine that's not being whitewashed, that's not being watered down, that's not being censored, and an account with like 6-7 million followers, and it was taken down with in an instant. And then subsequently a couple more accounts followed. With enough back push, we were able to luckily get those accounts reinstated, or they were. I shouldn't say we, but they were able to get the accounts reinstated, and that just shows you, the level of the levels that they're willing to go to suppress the truth from getting out. And it's a terrible thing when entities try to silence the truth and the facts.
Well, it's crazy. They're not even. I mean, for us out here, I know you're deep in it, but they're not even showing the war going on over here at all.
Nothing.
Like we have to dig into this to find out. Like, I didn't know a lot of what was happening until. So shout out to Priscilla. She actually, a friend of ours, brought Muhammad on. I appreciate you, Priscilla. I know you're watching. Hit the chat up, ask some questions. But yeah, I appreciate that. And so yeah, I didn't know what was going on, and then she turned me on to his Instagram, and I started seeing everything. I was like, whoa, what is happening here, man?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're just not showing us. I feel like, I mean, let's be honest. I feel like they're trying to hide a lot of things from us.
I don't know. There's some stuff going on. I've seen some stuff, but and they're talking about it every single day on. People are not talking about it, which
is weird.
Which is weird.
It's weird
because this is we haven't seen a war like this.
Struggles.
A struggle like this in a long time, and I had to turn the TV off one time because I was literally like
showing the kids with their eyes.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was.
But at the end of the day, you know, we get to close our eyes over here on this side.
Right.
Them over there, you know, unfortunately, they have to endure this nonstop without any breaks. So for us, yeah, we have that luxury, but to be honest, you know, in the fight for justice, there cannot be any pauses. There needs to be persistence. There needs to be continuation of discussing these matters, because the moment that people stop talking about it, the moment, you know, it starts to fizzle out and starts dying down. And a lot of people are not aware that this has been going on for 75 years.
Right.
75 years of this has been going on. And there's
1948.
and there's people that literally assume that this just started because of the October 7th attack by Hamas.
No.
You know, I mean, you know what I mean? It's been going on for so long, but people are barely being made aware of it just recently.
And that's because of all the.
Yeah, exactly.
Once we seen that, then that's when people really start little by little.
They started opening their eyes.
Started to open eyes. Like,
Yeah.
we haven't seen this with our eyes in a long time.
Almost never.
Never.
Yeah, almost never.
Russia, Ukraine.
Never. Yeah.
Whatever war we was in. Baghdad.
You hear about it, but you don't see it.
No, Baghdad.
And you know what's even crazier is back in the day, if you look back like on the wars from like World War II, all this kind of stuff, everybody knew what was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we have all this social media and everything, and nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah. Right.
It kind of doesn't make any sense, man.
It's like people are blind. They got blinders on, right? So people are distracted by, you know, meaningless things, and that's the whole goal of, you know, that's the whole goal of what they want. They want people distracted so that they don't really pay attention to matters that are affecting themselves as well as other people in the globe. They want people, you know, dumb, deaf, and blind, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's easier to control a population that doesn't know what's going on as opposed to a population that's aware and that are willing to, you know, to put their foot forth in the fight for justice. And you see that now. You see people coming out around the globe. There has never been support like this for the Palestinian cause in history. In history, we are living in an unprecedented time. Like right now,
everybody calling for a pause.
Everyone around the globe. You just have a few leaders of these, you know, Western powers that, you know, it's clear to see that the Zionist movement doesn't just have a chokehold on the truth, on the media outlets, on the information that's coming out, but they also have a chokehold on governments, you know, and this is a very, very troubling thing that people really need to take into consideration, that if this Zionist movement, these Zionist organizations are strangling the ability of countries and nations and leaders to act in a just manner, this is something very, very, you know, very dire that people need to address.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at this point, it's getting to a point that's setting a very dangerous precedent. You look at Iraq when they did they invaded Iraq in the 2000s. He violated 2 United Nations resolutions. They went in, destroyed his country, killed millions of people. They executed him in front of his own people. Right? Israel, on the other hand, is the only nation in the world, in history, to continuously violate United States resolutions, international laws on a daily basis and get away with it. It's like the law applies to everyone else in the world except for them. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why is it that everyone else in the world has to abide by these international guidelines in the matter of humanitarian rights, in the matter of taking care of civilian casualties, minimizing damage? Israel doesn't care about any of that. They come out, they're voicing their literal call for the elimination of the Palestinian people. Their leaders, right, the people in their government have voiced for a genocide. One of them voiced for a nuke to be dropped on Gaza. You know what I mean? And these are the people that are running this government. And then they want to say, hey, oh, we're not a racist entity. We're not an apartheid state. We care about the Palestinian people. So why is it everything you guys do is in direct contradiction to what you guys are claiming? You get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, because it's almost a contradiction. Nothing against, not being biased against any country.
Yeah.
But just being and living in reality, we've seen even people from Ukraine and people from Russia and people all around the world say, hey, no bombing the hospitals in Ukraine. Calm down.
Exactly.
Chill.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing this, but that's how it went. Mm-hmm. Russia stopped bombing
safe havens, if you will.
Safe haven buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So now America, everybody is wondering when America's going to tell Israel, hey, stop, chill out.
Yeah.
They don't have any hospitals left.
Yeah.
No, all the civilians is getting, burned, killed, hands blown up. So it's like, where is the authority there?
Where's the balance? Where's the justice? You know what I
Yes.
mean? And the thing that you just mentioned about the hospitals, we just got notice from back home that the Israeli military over there near the Shifa hospital over there in northern Gaza, they actually went and arrested all of the journalists. They arrested all of the journalists, and then they penetrated the hospital, and they went in with the military. So, you could just kind of guess what's going to take place. Why did they want to remove the journalists that are documenting what's going on as they went into the hospital? There's reports of gunfire in the hospital. There's reports of all kinds of crazy stuff at the time where there's like a blackout. So this is their MO. This is their MO. They try to suppress the information from getting out as they're doing their deed. Right? So they're going in, they're massacring people, and they're trying to suppress the information from getting out to the public. But because of the reach of social media right now, they're having a very difficult time in suppressing that truth, because every channel that they shut down, there's another one right after it. So right now is a very tough time for them in one of the most, what has been proven in history as one of their most effective ways of suppressing truth. Mm-hmm. Right? So now it's kind of like a retaliatory campaign, if you will. They've been embarrassed in front of the whole world, trying to be, label themselves as the number 4 military in the world, superpower, nuclear power. We don't need help from anybody.
Israel.
And they got, they got embarrassed. Let's call it for what it is. They got embarrassed in front of the whole world. They came to the U.S. asking for money. Mm-hmm. They came to the U.S. begging for support, for military support. They're going around hiring mercenaries to fight their wars. They've been embarrassed on a scale that has never been done before.
They got over 40 billion or something dollars.
It's really, we give them annually about like $8 billion. Why is it, why is our nation giving a foreign country, right, a superpower foreign country, that much money when we have needs for it for our own people here? This is what doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? They just
a lot of our people don't understand that. They don't know that because, like they said, they don't know this war, this struggle is going on. So, we're spending a lot of money. A lot of our tax dollars, a lot of our money is going out, not just Ukraine to Ukraine anymore, because they're still getting care packages.
Exactly,
they're still getting money. Now, Israel is getting all this money. Like you said, a superpower.
Yeah.
And
someone who claimed they don't need anybody's help on top of that.
So it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing as a world?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody is Taiwan been taken over. It's like everybody's just going crazy right now, and no one is actually stopping thinking about, can we just enjoy our humanity?
What I think is going on is a lot of turmoil, and I think there's a lot of fight for people to remain in power. So they're kind of looking after their own self-interest in doing certain things, right? And the same goes for the Palestinian Authority, the leadership that we have now. They're part of the blame of what's going on. As far back as Yasser Arafat and the Oslo Accords, and the deal that he did with Israel. He pretty much, sold what was remainder of Palestine without anybody knowing. Yeah, he didn't have any he didn't confer with any of his his political party. He didn't ask the people what was in their best interest or what they wanted to happen. He pretty much went over there to save his position and remain in power at the expense of the Palestinian population. Right now, what we're saying, the same exact thing with Mahmoud Abbas. This guy, you ask any Palestinian who lives in Palestine, they tell you, we don't like this guy. We want this guy to go. Why? Because he's nothing but a Zionist puppet. Everything he does is not for the benefit of his people, of our people, right? It's for money and to remain in power. They held a democratic election in the West Bank, right? A free and democratic election. The election went against what the United States and Israel wanted. They didn't let it happen. So they went in and they installed Mahmoud Abbas as their puppet. Ever since then, it's just been one concession after another that the Palestinian leadership has been doing for the Israelis. The Israelis have been coming out with the upper hand in every exchange. You look at it, you look at the number of settlements is expanding. The size of the settlements are expanding. The number of violent incidences with the settlers in the West Bank are increasing. It's just getting worse and worse with the current leadership.
And it's never going to end. I don't think it's going to end the way people think we want it to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people are thinking politically and not reality.
Yeah.
You see, in reality, I think that, like you said, the rules and regulations of the borders of these populations have been already set in stone, and just like with Russia and Ukraine, that has been set in stone. Now we want something from you that we've had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or we claim that it's ours. So at the end of the day, it's like, in reality, the only peace that we can get out of this situation is stay in our borders. You know what I mean? Stay in our own lanes.
Yeah.
Reality.
Well,
why are we fighting for something more that has not been ours for years already?
Exactly. You got to look out for for number one. That's what it is. And when you're talking about the struggle over there in Palestine, it's very, very tense. You're talking about a people who have been subjected to discrimination, displacement, dehumanization, embarrassment, humiliation, exploitation for X amount of years.
But it's theirs now.
As
we see it, as they see it.
They see it, but
as humanity sees it, not as another country that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not how things work in this case. It should be a matter of just versus unjust. So we should stop looking at it in a sense of, okay, well, this is the status quo. This is what has been going on, and this is what kind of creates peace. You can have peace in times of injustice.
Right.
There was peace in apartheid South Africa for a while. There was peace in the United States during times of slavery. Right? So you can have peace during times of injustice, but in order to achieve true peace, there needs to be a just resolution. And the only cause, just resolution is very simple. They try to make it seem as if it's this complex situation or complex issue that nobody could talk about. It's far too complicated. It's really one of the most simple situations on earth. The situation is a matter of a people and another people. One people claiming they are superior and enacting government regulations and rules on that land that demonstrate their superiority. So the only just outcome, or the only just route that can be taken or should be taken, is where both peoples have parity. Both people have equal rights. One person, one vote. And the Zionist government, as it currently is, has demonstrated that it's not working. You know what I mean? It's not working. Every time, every couple of years, it might die down just for a little bit, then it sparks right back up. You
every 4 or 5 years.
You can't have peace while you're being an oppressive entity over a group of people, not allowing them basic human rights. This is just not going to work. Throughout history, it's been shown that any group of people who have been oppressed and occupied have never achieved freedom peacefully. So if you're going to sit there and you're going to ask for freedom from the people that are occupying you or oppressing you, it'll never happen.
So tell us how the oppression is over the people in Palestine.
Okay, so for example, they claim that it's not an apartheid state. Now, in order for based on the United Nations guidelines, there needs to be a few things, a few elements in order for it to actually be considered an apartheid state. all of the elements are present in the occupied territories, which are, there are two sets of people. One group of people abides by a certain set of rules that are pertaining to them, and the other group of people have a different set of rules and regulations. One group of people are allowed X amount of freedoms. The other group of people are allowed no freedoms. They control how much water that they get. They're only allowed to get 1 month of water, a supply of water at a time. They're only allowed to move between Palestinian territories via military checkpoints, which every checkpoint you're going to get stopped, harassed, belittled, and made to feel less than. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a very, very complicated situation over there. And a lot of people, they see that here, but until you go over there and you see it with your own eyes and experience going through these dehumanizing acts that they impart over all of the Palestinian people, you can't really get a full grasp over what is going on. So you have, American journalists, all kinds of foreign journalists that go travel to the occupied West Bank and the occupied territories just to actually experience it and have a firsthand, a word on what's going on. Every person says the same thing. As soon as they get off of the bus into the territories, their mind is blown. They cannot believe it. Soldiers walking around. Settlers, walking around carte blanche to do whatever they want. They go into people's houses. They do campaigns where they go take over villages, right? They'll have their little militias. They go into certain neighborhoods. They gather up all the Palestinians, kick them out of their homes. They take over their homes. Just recently in Sheikh Jarrah, there was a documented video of a settler. He went into his Palestinian homes and he was claiming, he was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to take your home." The people said, they knew his name, Jacob, or what have you. Said, "Jacob, you can't take our house." You know what his response was? He said, "Well, if I don't steal your house, somebody else is going to steal your house." This is the logic that we're dealing with. This is the type of...
I can see a whole lot of tiredness and fed up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the result. So what we're seeing right now, these people want to claim this was a terrorist attack on Israel, what have you. They fail to understand what the root causes are.
Right.
Right?
So, go ahead.
And, sorry about that.
No,
and then... the root causes of these resistance movements is one thing, is occupation, is illegal occupation and the lack of providing basic human rights and the ability for self-determination. This is why resistance movements are created, because they feel they went through all of the proper channels. They spoke to whoever they needed to speak to, United Nations, International Criminal Court. They spoke to everybody.
And that's going to happen. This is going to happen anywhere in any country.
Yeah.
When you stop human supply and you try to keep them in slavery,
you're gonna have a revolt.
You're gonna have somebody coming out going crazy.
We're humans. We're humans. We're
Mexico.
Yeah.
We have Mexico right here. They call it a little better life over here. So guess what they're going to try to do? They're going to try to do whatever it takes to get here.
Yeah.
And do whatever it takes for freedom. Do whatever
for freedom. That's all it is. It's a matter of just basic human rights. This is a group of people who are being discriminated against, who are fighting to achieve some type of justice.
Right. And I just use that as an example for freedom.
Yeah, I'll give you a quote by another scholar, another Palestinian journalist. He was one of the leaders of one of the resistance movements. His name is Ghassan Kanafani. And what he said, he was doing an interview, and they asked him, what did you achieve with this movement? And although there wasn't really much that was achieved in terms of reclaiming Palestine, what it did show, and what he said, we achieved in showing every person on this world that we are a small, brave nation that will fight till the last drop of blood to claim justice for ourselves because of the whole world failed to give it to us. And that couldn't be more true than right now than ever. You see it. You see these people fighting, and they're not scared. Right. They're not going to surrender. Why? Because the world already had multiple chances to intervene and give them justice, and everybody keeps ignoring us. Like we were at the point where we were almost forgotten.
Do you think that people are, and when I said, yes, for sure, do you think that and not just America, but the whole world, even they have spoken out and says, hey, stop for a pause for a minute?
I mean, the pause is like it's not gonna do anything, right? So the whole thing about the pause, and they don't want to admit this. So I get a lot of my news from Israeli press, right? So I'm subscribed to a lot of Israeli press because their news that they issue to them over there is most of the time true. It's not like our news out here that BS is and manipulate. So over there they give them the real stuff, right?
Straight up.
So a lot of that stuff they're pointing out things that are going on over there within their own government. So you have like leadership. Bibi is beefing with the military unit. The military is beefing with the rest of the Knesset. The people are revolting against Netanyahu. It's all mixed up. It's all mixed up over there, and it's a bunch of turmoil that they don't want anyone to see. They're calling for a ceasefire because they can't sustain, right? It's costing them $250 million a day.
Yeah.
$250 million a day during this campaign, right? And they're not accomplishing anything. They're not accomplishing any of their goals in hopes of eliminating.
And that's where I'm glad you get in there. So that's an important question. So what do you think that the goal for Israel is, or to accomplish out of this whole situation?
Okay, so this is more of an opinion, but my opinion is
that's what I want.
My opinion is kind of framed around facts, right? So the facts that we have presented to us, the facts that are documented, it kind of seems to me what's going on is that he was embarrassed. He was embarrassed in front of his whole people. Let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back just a second, right? 9 months prior to, right? 9 months leading up to it, there was there was civil unrest within the country of Israel, right? There was civil unrest. The legislative powers wanted to strip the judicial branch from having the ability to strike down bills that are passed.
Right.
The people saw that as more of a dictatorship becoming born, right? They're revolted, right? They were going out into the streets calling for the resignation of Netanyahu. Not to mention Netanyahu is facing trials. From 2016, they opened a case against him for bribery, corruption, loss of public trust. He's been going through this trial for they actually brought charges. They brought indictments against him in 2019. So he's been fighting this trial that pretty much they have evidence of all this corruption that he has involved. Then you have the civil distress and the call for them, or the leadership to resign. Then all of a sudden, conveniently, right, this happens, and they get embarrassed. They get embarrassed on the global stage
because it was out. Everybody's starting to know what's going on.
Yeah, right.
It's publicly out now.
So my opinion of what their goal is now is, in order to kind of salvage some type of support from his people, he needs to come out with some type of victory, something that he could hold in his hand as like, look, we won. When in reality, they didn't win. They're actually like, everyone around the globe has acknowledged that these guys are like, they're lost. Even with all of the casualties of the Palestinians, everyone admits that the Israeli they lost right now. They can't do anything. They're just killing more and more innocent people just for the for the hell of it.
Right.
So
and we're talking about the holy nation now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the holy people, right? The most moral army in the world, they claim, right?
And no disrespect, but his response was, and we all seen him get on national TV and says, well, what happened was the kidnapping happened from Gaza, the kidnapping and the little children and the kids. So it was probably anywhere from 12 to 24 people or something like that. So his response is, they did that. This is what our response is now. So, they did what they did. Now we're going to kill. We're not going to stop.
Yeah,
no one is going to stop us. And basically, he said it just like
that. He said we're not stopping until we win. And he didn't clarify what win means.
Right.
He didn't clarify. He said we are not going to stop until we win. And everyone's asking him, well, what does win mean? What are the guidelines for you to take as a win? And he's not addressing anything. The United States has even shifted their kind of stance in supporting them just so blindly, to the point where they're saying, okay, well, he needs to kind of abide by international law. He needs to make sure that they're not just blindly bombing people and increasing casualties by the thousands. You have the leader of France, Macron, one of the most racist guys on earth. He came out just recently, issued a statement I couldn't believe it. He came out and said, Israel has no right to continuously bomb innocent women and children. We call for we demand a ceasefire.
Everybody has.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the support for Israel is a very limited time frame, right? They can't sustain.
It's just America.
Yeah,
Biden. He came out and Biden says,
and you know why?
Whatever Israel wants to do. In his words,
Yeah.
Biden said, whatever Israel want to do, I'm going to support.
And not only that, we have this leader right here that came out and questioned the numbers and the figures of the casualties that the Palestinians were suffering. And like, how can you be a leader of a country?
How do you question the
numbers? Don't even. Like, are you talking about thousands and thousands of people that are killed, and you're gonna come out and have the audacity to say, "Oh, I wouldn't trust those figures." Well, what do we have to? We have documents, like you can see it, video, pictures, imaging for everyone to see.
If it wasn't thousands and thousands of people, that video that was shown on national TV of that.
So I just want to see my whole. I know a certain amount. I feel like about this. That's what I want to kind of ask you, because there was something I was hearing about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they said the reason why I found out that why they're going and fighting and doing all this is because they said that since 2006. They've been
under siege,
they've been bombing
Gaza,
them, doing stuff.
Yeah.
So this is their way of just saying we're done. Like, we don't want to deal with that anymore. So what does that mean? Like what do you think about that? Because when I was thinking about that, I was like, is this the reason? Because they're trying to say they were tired of getting bombed and people just going to buses.
I mean, if you can't really justify those claims, though. I mean, you have a couple of rockets that come into territory, rarely possibly injure anyone, and then your response is to send actual military grade missiles and projectiles using aircrafts and just leveling entire villages. This is that they're in war. Look, in war there is something called the proportionality of response, right? Mm-hmm. There's the proportionality of response, which means that if you are engaged in war, somebody attacks you, you are required by international law to respond in proportion to what you received, right? So if somebody just punches you, you can't come over here and kill them. It doesn't work that way. It has to be proportionate with the level of force that came towards you.
Bombing hospitals and stuff like that.
Yeah, they bombed over 10.
I can't even argue with that.
No.
Yeah.
It's just why?
They're bombing hospitals, churches.
The war is between the military.
Yeah, it's like, what is happening?
It's
with
a
that?
struggle.
I don't like that.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle for justice and freedom. So they
But at the end of the day,
always manipulate it and make it seem like it's a war. A war.
But the struggle been going on for years.
Exactly. This is just a battle. This is a battle that's going on, right? This
Even
is a battle
in 2006.
Exactly.
The struggle been going on. So at the end of the day, even the struggle, like you said, the military coming in and taking their homes and doing all this stuff regularly. You don't think I'm gonna retaliate?
Exactly. And to
me, like, you know what I mean? If someone is doing something
over and over,
it's just hard because like my whole life I've been and this is what that's why I'm listening, like trying to dissect everything that's being said, because biblically, I'm a Christian, so read the Bible biblically. It's Israel is always on top.
Yeah, but ancient Israel is what people don't understand. The ancient Israel, right, is ancient Israel. The reason they were so successful in accomplishing what they've done now is, like I said, they hijacked the name of Judaism. That's why they named it Israel. That's why they had all of the the Jews from Europe migrate over there. So it was all a ploy. It was a manipulation.
Plan.
Yeah. So they kind of wanted the name of Judaism, but they didn't want the religious, the religious beliefs tied to it. So it was more of a nationality that they wanted to push for. It was a Zionist Jewish nationality. They didn't really want the religion tied to it, because the true to the Torah Jews, right, the ones that follow their scripture, in their book, it specifically mentions that they were divinely exiled from having any nation of their own because of sins that they committed, right? Mm-hmm. So all of those Jews, the ones that you see out protesting in support of Palestine against Israel, they don't affiliate with Zionism. And as a matter of fact, they actually detest it and condemn it, because these people are committing all of these atrocities behind the veil, behind the guise of Judaism. So in a sense, they're using the name of Judaism to try to justify all of this nonsense that they're putting the Palestinians through, which is not right. And a lot of the Jews around the world, as you guys probably seen, they're coming out by the thousands in support. The Palestinians, the Orthodox Palestinians in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, that come out, the anti-Zionist ones, they get beat up by the military. There's videos circulating just recently on November 2nd. They had like a little a micro rally in support of the Palestinians. The military went in there and they beat the brakes kicks off of these guys. You're talking about religious rabbis and stuff, frail, old, never hurt anybody.
What the heck is going on, man? I just can't even, like...
It's crazy. And to think that it all stems from something so simple as a group of people taking over a land and not allowing the other people to live as freely as they are. That's what it boils down to. It's like, hey, we're going to take your land. You could live next to us, but you can't do what we could do. You know what I mean? There's Jewish-only roads. If a Palestinian gets caught in that, you get shot. You know what I mean? In Jerusalem, in certain cities in Jerusalem, right? Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Yeah. And could you imagine that? Like,
this is not
America.
Yeah, we ain't. Like we took over California.
Right.
Right.
And they
said it was like that. It was like that at one time during the times of slavery, right?
Yeah.
Segregation. Whites only bathrooms, blacks only bathrooms. Right? So injustice has, it throughout history has happened more than one time. It's happened countless times. And if you look at the root cause, it all stems from one thing, from a group of people becoming or being discriminated and denied basic human rights. This is like the telltale story of almost every story of some type of
Israel,
conflict.
and I want this on tape. So is Israel saying you're not a part of us? And
nothing. They don't even acknowledge Palestine as a territory. Netanyahu just
does Palestine want to be a part of Israel?
I mean, look at it this way, right? So people don't know this, is that Palestinians, when the Jews were being persecuted all over Europe, and they were looking for a safe haven, the Palestinians welcomed them in with open arms. They welcomed them in with open arms.
So that's why they're going crazy in Europe. Yeah. That's why they're protesting and everywhere. I didn't know that.
So we welcomed them in with open arms as a safe haven because whether they want to admit it or not, the Jews have always lived better among the Arabs and the Muslims than they have anywhere in Europe. Right? Anytime, if you look at any point in history, the Jews among the Muslims and the Arabs have been treated much more fairly. Of course, you're going to get some people that's going to say, oh, well, what about the explosion in the 80s and this and that? Well, this was a direct response over the Israeli, the disregard of the Palestinian struggles and the Palestinians' right to self-determination. So this was a kind of reaction to what they're doing to their brothers and sisters, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, you guys don't want to allow the Palestinians in your land. You guys could take the rest of you guys as well, right? We don't want them in our land. Since we were so friendly and opened our homes to you guys don't consider doing the same to the Palestinian people whose land you took. We don't want you guys here. You know what I mean? So they kind of pushed them out. And that was, like I said, it was in retaliation of the constant neglect of basic human rights that they were not affording to the Palestinians.
Right. God forbid that this country, and not speaking bad on anything in no situation.
God willing, man. God willing.
Yeah, but say this war ends and
struggle, man. I can't keep calling it the war, man.
Yeah, this struggle word is new to us when it comes to.
And you know what though, it is because
we've never heard nothing.
Like I understand. Like now, it's like okay, they're within Israel, so it's like it's a struggle. It's kind of crazy to think about it like that. I never thought of it like that. What do you think about that part, too, Shadi? A little bit. I mean, I think you should chime in a little bit. You understand a lot of that's going on too.
Yeah, but do you think that they would be able to? I mean, it's a lot of damage going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely catastrophic, man.
Yes,
so their goal,
we've seen in a long time.
I think their goal is to try to annex part of Gaza, claim it as their own, as a sort of a victory, right? Okay. So for it to go back to his people and say, hey, look, we didn't defeat Hamas, but look, we captured a big portion of Gaza.
I don't think that's going to sit well.
It's not going to sit well with anywhere.
I was about to say with any country on Iran.
Well, I don't think the U.S. Secretary Blinken, he already said in response to their claim, Poland, right? He came out and said that their stance is that post, conflict, this current conflict, he said in no way do they see a successful or permittable situation where Israel is occupying any part of Gaza. So Secretary Blinken has already came out and said that them occupying any part of Gaza is already out of the question.
That's like pointless.
You know what I mean? That's what they're saying. So, but I mean, history has shown they get away with a lot of things. Mm-hmm. They get away with a lot of things. I mean, like I said, 69 violations of international law, United Nations resolutions. We're talking about just in the last month. And nobody says a word. Nobody intervenes. People don't know that there is a United Nations doctrine, right, called the responsibilities to protect, right? It's the responsibilities to protect doctrine. It was re-ratified, and it was kind of put in place during the times of like the Rwanda massacre, right? And people didn't want it, like they wanted to get involved, but there was an issue of the legality regarding national sovereignty. So they didn't know if they had the permissibility to go in and intervene. So they ratified it and they amended it to include that if the people, right, let me actually tell you what it is. So the Responsibilities to Protect Act is pretty much a responsibility, a requirement for every state to protect whoever they're responsible for. In this case, Israel has a duty to protect its citizens as well as the Palestinians, because they are occupying, they are under Israeli rule. So they are required by law to protect both parties. Now, if there is a violation or a blatant disregard to uphold their Responsibilities to Protect Act, it is permissible for a foreign nation to come in and intervene when there is, like I said, blatant disregard or just ignoring the requirement. That's it, right? It's on the United Nations website.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm like.
But why don't you think anyone has intervened?
I mean, like I said, it's because of the chokehold that they have. You know, they people don't understand, like. Here, for example, in the United States, people don't understand how big the Zionist lobby is, right? AIPAC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with AIPAC. It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. These guys,
heard a little bit about
these guys are single-handedly the largest political contributors to everybody. If you look at their donor list, these guys have everybody. Biden just he collected, I think it was like just under $4 million from them,
right?
For campaign. You look at them, they have. I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of people that they contribute money to. So when you have a organization that is pretty much funding your campaign or funding your career, in essence, right? You're gonna be reluctant on challenging anything that goes against what they want, what they're aligned with, right? So that's why you see policies that are just more often than not directed at benefiting just the Israelis or their causes, as opposed to for justice. And a lot of people that are sitting silent because they don't want to lose.
It'll start a bigger war too.
I mean, it could, yeah.
It would start a bigger.
That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, they control the legislation, across the globe. And another issue I want to touch on is the fact that you have, tons of sitting congressmen and women that hold dual citizenships with here in Israel. Now, I don't know, I'm studying law, but I'm still not an expert in that field yet, but that's a conflict of interest in my eyes. If you're drafting legislation for our nation in America, and you hold allegiance to another nation, doesn't that draw some type of conflict?
It does.
Right? Right or wrong, right?
Yes.
So there was a congressman, he actually was speaking about proposing a bill that would require them to renounce any foreign allegiance. Anybody sitting on Congress. Why? Because, it makes sense. How can you draft what's best for you here if you're thinking of something over there as well?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it goes around and around.
And that's like you said, that's a never-ending thing.
Yeah.
Because even you have to deal with people that's not even your ally.
Exactly.
When it comes to that.
Man, there's a lot of things I'm learning from this right
And these
now.
guys, like I said, they don't care who they fund. They fund anybody that takes money. Anybody that takes money.
You got to deal with people that's
Democrats,
not your ally.
Republicans, Independents. They don't care who takes their money as long as you take their money. And then when it comes down to it, you vote in their favor. And then once you take money from them, you have to sign like an allegiance to the state of Israel or to the Israeli people, right? So you take money from them. It's kind of like selling your soul. And if you don't do it, if you don't do it, right? If you don't do what they do, they make sure to destroy your campaign, make sure you don't get reelected. If you go on their website, it actually states how many people that they endorsed got elected, how many people. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting if you think about it. You know
politics
what I mean?
is a different beast, man. So do you think that how do you see this ending?
Honestly.
Let's talk about without the voices, because the voices matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not saying they're doing anything now, but the more people go and especially talk about it, the more that things get resolved across the world. And a lot of people have been talking more in other countries than America. We have to start getting America.
A lot of people are speaking here, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the march in
I've seen the
DC.
march. Yes, in DC.
But like a million people came out, right? It was like the largest protest for Palestinian support in U.S. history.
But you're going to get that south and east more than you're going to get West Coast, Midwest. Their voices are not heard as much this way.
Well, that's why we need to unite. That's why we need to call for a coalition that joins one another. East Coast, West Coast, Palestinian, non-Palestinian, Muslim, non-Muslim, anybody who's in support of justice, anybody who's in support of human rights, anybody who's against the killing of innocent men, women, and children needs to come together. You know what I mean? This is basic stuff.
Right.
It's not hard to see that injustice is taking place right before our eyes.
Right.
There's world leaders that are standing stagnant, refusing to intervene, and it just shows, you know, the society that we live in. And they're only going to learn when we, as a people, unite and demand, right? We demand something be done, because people tend to forget the government works for us. They work for
I
us.
just got the chills.
Right?
Thank you
The
for
government works for us. We're not supposed to be scared of the government.
Right.
It should be the other way around. We're the ones that put them in office. We elect them. Right? So if we feel that these guys are not looking out for our best interests or things that align with true American values such as freedom, justice, equality, right? We need to take a stand and demand that they act, you know, in accordance with what we want and what we expect to happen, which is the fight for justice.
Right.
It's real simple.
Right.
You know, and people have gotten so scared of the government that they refuse to speak out, and you know they want to be timid, or they're intimidated or whatever. No, this needs to stop now, right? This needs to stop now, because we as a people have been divided long enough, and we need to take a stand for justice. And the only way that's going to happen is if we keep pushing forward, we keep spreading the knowledge, we keep spreading the truth, and disproving all of the, you know, the manipulation and the lies that are circulating through the mainstream media. Thank God we have social media right now, because this is the only way people were able to see the atrocities that's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Our voices could stand up and make something happen in such of a time like this. Imagine what we can do after this.
Exactly. I mean, like, this just
You know
showed.
what I mean? Imagine, this is showing, you know,
how quickly people can
Coming
come onto
again.
the same page,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It showed the world.
They want peace. They want to be able. That's what you want, right?
Well,
out of
you
this,
can't, like I
right?
said, you can't have peace without justice, right? They could say, all right, we're gonna stop bombing you, we're gonna do this, and that. If there's not true justice,
You're not treating
yeah,
us-
it's just gonna repeat itself.
Okay, what kind of justice are you thinking?
Okay, well, I mean, throughout history, they've always promised a two-state solution, which has never manifested into any, actionable results. They've always promised it since the beginning of time. There's a two-state solution. The Israelis, the Palestinians, you know, right off the bat, the Israelis had their say in how Palestine was going to be run. So right off the bat, it wasn't.
How much water you get. How much
Yeah,
food
not
you
only
get,
that, they
what
wanted
you
them
go
to
through
be
this.
disarmed. They wanted them
Right.
to be a nation that was disarmed. I mean, they didn't tell that to any other nation that was established.
Right.
You guys could operate, but you guys can't have a military. Like
Right.
right off the bat, that shows you that that's all a facade. That's not really. They didn't really want a two-state solution. It's just something to give them to kind of shut them up and the illusion of, you know, sovereignty, right? But the two-state solution has always been promised, never manifested into anything, right? So, I mean, at this point, my opinion is, I think the tensions have built up so greatly over the past of the last, you know, several decades, that even if that were to be established, it would be a very, very tough situation in the region.
I was thinking the same
Right?
thing right now.
So,
just
I mean,
to that.
This has been spoken, has been mentioned by several other scholars, Edward Said and Miko Peled, you know, a Jewish, Israeli-born soldier. His dad was general in the Israeli military, fought in the 48-67 wars. His grandfather actually was one of the people that signed the Declaration of Independence of Israel. So this guy was born in Israel. He woke up to see like the injustice that was going on before his eyes in the name of Judaism, in the name of, you know, what's holy and what have you. So he became a proponent for the Palestinian movement. And him, as well as Edward Said, as well as myself, I mean, I kind of honestly think the only logical solution is to eliminate the Zionist government, the apartheid government as it currently is, because that is the root of all of the problems in the region, right? So you have to eliminate that current government as it is, and you could establish a one-person, one-vote government on all of historic Palestine. You could have the Palestinians living amongst the Jews if they wanted to stay there. The Palestinian leadership already said that they're welcome to stay there. We have no
think
issue.
that'll work?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what other solutions do we have? They
No
try
other
to-
solution.
Yeah,
but I'm just
I
saying.
mean, that's the most logical, most viable.
and that's like the most peaceful.
Yeah, it's the most viable option.
It'll still be
because
rough,
it's gonna take some time to acclimate and adjust to one another. But at that point, once you have two peoples living with the same equal rights and the right, you know,
And religion is separated.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have. They always try to make it seem like it's Muslim against Jew. This is the biggest
They've
misconception.
always made it seem like
it's
that.
not. It's not. It's really not, because we love our Jewish brothers and sisters as well as our Christian brothers and sisters.
Right.
You could see that in Palestine, right? You go over there.
But Christians are not like that.
No, over there though. Not the Western Christians you're talking
they
about.
don't love their brothers and sisters. Stop saying
You
that.
talk about the Western.
No, I'm gonna talk about the Western Christians. They do not love their brothers and sisters. That's
a lot of the Western people.
They love the Christian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I got you on that.
They don't love their brothers and sisters. Like if you're not a Christian, if you're a Muslim, or you a Catholic, or you some outside of Christian, you going to hell. That's not love. I'm sorry.
But you could say that. You could say that a lot about a lot of the Western culture, right? A lot of the Western culture has kind of deviated from the wholesomeness of what the true beliefs were, and that all has in part to do with how America was established. The transitions that they were forced to go through, in sense of like the slavery, just as the revolution against what people don't understand is America itself fought against colonizers, right? To claim our freedom, we fought against the British colonizers, and we were called terrorists. We were called insurgents against the British Empire. So a lot of people fail to understand that these type of situations have taken place all over, and being a part of this nation and going through that transition is gonna alter the essence of what it was to be true, if you will. You know what I mean? In terms of the Christian beliefs, or the Jewish beliefs, or the Muslims' beliefs, and it's just a part of acclimating and adapting to your environment. So I get what you're saying, and it could be said the same as for all a lot of the Western people, as opposed to their European counterparts or whatever.
Right. I mean, I definitely wish it was like that when it comes to.
Coming together, unity, to where people can look at it how you said it in the beginning. Yeah. You said, I love my brothers. We love our brothers and our sisters. We love, you know what I mean? We just want equality. Yeah. And that's where you said, back when you said in America, that's what, minorities was fighting for. Yeah, exactly. Equality. Exactly. So Israel and Palestine are, they have to come to this common ground. It's like, hey, what are they fighting for? Yeah. And what are we fighting for? Yeah. And are we fighting? Is Israel fighting for equality? No, they're fighting to maintain the status quo, right?
Now, is Palestine fighting for equality?
Yeah, they're fighting for freedom, for
our equality. You see what I'm saying? Now, people have to understand what's really going on. That's why we wanted to get to the bottom of it. Like he hit it at the top of the head. We got it now. You got to think. And now it's all a big picture now. Exactly. Now everything is open. We can understand better.
Exactly. And then just to touch on that subject of going through oppression and stuff, they want to label this as a terrorist organization, and history has shown us that they're only terrorists until they're not anymore. Right? So you look at...
So we only see the terrorists as Gaza coming in and taking the children and hostage.
But who classifies them as terrorists? There's only like a few nations in the world that classify. The United States, the UK, I think Australia, and one more nation are the only four, and Israel, of course, that classify Hamas, for example, as a terrorist organization. Now, I'm not justifying I'm not justifying anything that was done or anything like that, but I'm just speaking to the facts of the situation. Right? You look at the Mau Mau in Kenya that fought against the British to secure their freedom from colonialism back in 62 or 63, I think it was. And in South Africa, Mandela, right? He fought. They called him a terrorist.
There's always going to be bad people on both sides that are going to do evil things to people. I mean,
but
even within here in America, when you know what I mean.
But my point is that anytime there was colonial oppression, right? Those that were fighting for their freedoms were always painted as those that were wrong.
Definitely.
Right? That's my point. My point is that there has never been an instance in history where the oppressed got their freedom just by sitting on their ass.
Yeah. Never.
No.
Every instance of freedom that was claimed was done how? Via resistance.
Yeah, and you're going to get slaughtered.
Right?
And a lot of you going to get slaughtered.
Exactly. And you see that with the Palestinian people, right? They're standing and they're holding their ground. Why? Because this is a cause that is as deep as one could get, right? This is a cause for justice and for our identity, right? Our identity is in jeopardy of being erased. Right. Our land completely taken. So this is not just a fight for a little piece of land. This is a fight for justice as well as our entirety of our people, of where we were, where we came from, and where we hope to be after all of this goes away.
That's the critical part, after. So if something, God forbid, something did happen and was wiped away, the people would be scattered and there would be no homeland.
Exactly.
Nowhere. It would be no more. It would be erased. Meaning,
and you already
say Africa got erased and there was no more African people ever. You know what I mean? There would be, it'd be scattered and there would be no homeland to where say, or Mexico. Oh, that's our homeland.
There's no more.
There's no more.
So that connection, that little thread that we have left, that's what's
from
being
history
fought for.
and history. You know what I mean? And
dang. See, it's just crazy because I'm so used to hearing and I mean, biblically even reading about Israel, like they just can't be taken out. You know, they're the God chosen people.
This is a fallacy. See that there's another instance of them hiding behind Judaism. So the Jews, the true to the Torah Jews, the ones that are against all of that, right? They don't buy any of that. Yeah, they in their book they were promised the land of Israel, but that's only upon the arrival of their Messiah, which they believe has not occurred yet, right? So until that takes place, they are by the word of God required to live amongst all of the nations of the world and not establish.
Yeah, because they don't believe that. That's right. Okay,
right.
So
the Jews who follow the scripture of God, the Torah, those are the ones that are anti-Zionist. Those are the ones that are coming out in support of Palestine and against Israel. They are there even in Palestine, and they're the ones that kind of were the progeny of those that came as settlers before them. So there's a lot of Israeli people in Palestine that are not Zionists, but they were just born in Israel because of their like their parents, their grandparents. They just kind of were born into that region. Those people like have nowhere to go. Those are the people that have a right to be there.
Got
but
a
the people that
for you.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. When we talk about religion and we talk about the book, we talk about the Torah, we talk about the Bible, we're talking about Americanizing stuff. I'm talking about Americanized stuff. Do you think, because in our biblical book as Christians, American Christians, we believe that God has chose Israel to protect Israel, and America has a lot to do with protecting Israel because of Christianity. So do you think because our book was created, the Bible was created in 1611, and it got here later, of course. Do you think that has something to do with the unity?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, I think
we would never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no disrespect to religion or the Bible, we would never know.
Yeah, of course. What the original
the Father and the original has said concerning this type of situation.
Yeah, and that is a very very valid point, because if you really look at it, I mean, how many different versions of the Bible are there?
There's
right?
so many.
So that's one of the tools that the Zionists actually knew that they would be able to garner some support, right?
Support from America.
Exactly.
And bring it here.
Yeah, that was initially how they kind of brainwashed, if you will, the people for their blind support.
I seen that in my studies.
Yeah,
and when I was raised Christian and born into a Christian faith home, and I still use a lot of the morals, principles, guidelines.
Yeah.
But I know, as in my head, I know that what's written on the paper is not all true.
Exactly.
I'm not that stupid.
Yeah.
You just can't write something in a book and pass it down generations and generations and make me believe everything that's in there. So in my research, I questioned a lot, and I said, well, when it came here, it wasn't designed here, so it came here. So when it came here, the book came here. Of course, everything has been tampered with, written,
of course, adjusted,
different generations.
Manipulated.
I was always wondering, God, did you do this when it comes to supporting, this nation and protecting this nation, or did they do it?
I mean,
and we would never know. We would never know. Did the Jewish Israel people,
the Zionists
create this for protection?
I mean,
and that's a deep question, because I've never, we would never know.
I mean, the word of the scriptures of God obviously are meant to be revelations of God's word to humanity, right?
To humanity
through Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus being a Palestinian, right? But he was born in Nazareth, which is a village right above where I'm from.
Definitely.
Right? So being a Palestinian in that land faced persecution from the Jews of the land. Why? Because they refused to acknowledge him as their savior, as their Messiah. Now, whether the manipulation of the script, because the Bible was not put together until later after Jesus passed, right? So it was all put together and compiled after Jesus' passing. So whether they had anything to do with the manipulation of it or anything
Of the
like
protection with
Yeah,
I mean, because that's some great protection when you're talking about bringing something to America for your protection.
I mean,
and I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that
it could,
is,
it's a
man.
possibility.
That's and nobody talks about that. Nobody even heard of that.
Yeah.
They like, what? Huh? But you got to remember, you know what I mean? Everything started there in the Middle East.
Exactly.
And then it transferred here traveled to America, and it was actually put together in English last.
Yeah.
It wasn't put to, you know what I mean? It was
in Aramaic and
Arabic, Hebrew,
Greek,
Latin. Even the Latins got it before us. So when we get it, we like,
it's
damn.
watered down already. Huh?
Yeah, it's watered down, and we like, damn, we protect Israel.
Woo!
And I ain't nothing against. I ain't saying we don't protect.
But you know what's crazy?
But I'm just saying, all of a sudden, it's like, dang.
It's like an obligation. It became.
An
It became more rather than
this big nation, and they can protect us.
And that's what it is. It's like anytime they have an issue, they come right there. Hey, can you come help us? Can you send us money? Can you send us weapons? Can you send us soldiers? This is
And we
been done
vowed
over
to protect
and
Israel from the beginning. I was just wondering. This a question.
And like I said, it's just they have such a vast network in American politics. Is that all of the policies, or most of the policies that are in regards to Israel or Palestine, 9 times out of 10, actually you could say 10 times out of 10, are all in favor of Israel. Israel are the ones that prove to benefit from all of this legislation. You don't ever hear about them talking about, okay, let's consider the Palestinians, for example, right? Let's sit back and think of the Palestinians for once, right? How about we sit back and try to draft some legislation in order to protect them, in order to give them rights, in hopes that will avoid any further conflicts or any other issues. It's never happened, right? It's never happened. And that's why
we talking about our next door neighbors now.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So like how America will protect Mexico if we had to. You know, how America would not even just protect our neighbors, but we would go and protect
over there,
Ukraine.
And send them hundreds of billions of dollars when you got people starving here. You got veterans, United States veterans who have fought for our rights and our freedoms, living on the streets, not getting the help that they need, not getting home or housing, right? This is disgusting behavior, if you ask me. And this is why I say we have to call all of these leaders and make them accountable.
So you think the Palestinian people would try to take over, like want to think that they can take over Israel or?
My man, during this the October 7th, this group of people, is like a handful of people, they took over half of Israel. That's what I'm telling you. They got embarrassed. There was a
that's what they were saying. But then that's when
this is a fact, right? This is a fact. They literally took over like half of Israel. It took these guys like a few days to recapture, their territories.
Right.
And there's this ex-United States Marine officer, intelligence, like super high level intelligence officer. His name is Scott Ritter. He's all over social media, but you can actually look him up. This guy was in the military. He has done operations directly with Israel. He's met Benjamin Netanyahu. He's went and training sessions with their military. He was the first one to say. He said these people. He said are like they're evil, right? He's like they have no intention of a true peace. Their whole goal is just to oppress. They don't know like what the hell they're doing other than bombing people. And he called them out. He said their military got embarrassed, right? A small group of people embarrassed them on the world stage. And this is a retaliatory response. This is just bomb and kill. It's like, let's see how many, sorry about that. Let's see how many Palestinians we could kill while we can.
When you got America backing you up and they would say something, they would say like, we back them for whatever they chooses. It's hard to let up.
Yeah.
When you got one of the most powerful countries in the world backing you, saying that, hey, we support whatever they got, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, and that's not right, though.
That's tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now in Israel, they looking like, okay, we got the one of the most powerful countries. Who's going to stop us from doing it? We don't care what nobody else is saying right now. Who's going to stop us? But in all actuality, like you said, and not thinking, it's we're fighting for freedom. We're fighting for equality. We're fighting for justice. So now can you get back to the drawing board and take a look at what we're fighting for? We're not actually, the thing is not, we're not trying to fight to take over your country. Yeah. Even though you're pressing us to.
Even though they took our country. So although all of that is happening, the Palestinian people are still optimistic and open-minded in a one-state solution, right? Or some type of resolution where both people have equal rights. So even with all of the terror, all of the dehumanization, all of the killings, and all of the oppression that the Israelis have constantly put the Palestinian people through, the Palestinian people are such, open-hearted that they are willing to entertain an idea where
how can we make this work?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And all of that anger that you see, all of this resistance, of course you're going to have anger. Like you said, you keep putting people through the same thing over and over again. I mean, you're going to get a response. Right. This is just common knowledge. Right? So there is obviously a lot of anger that's built up in the people of Palestine, right? Because of their constant neglect and their constant, the ignoring by the world of the situation that they're going through. And like I said, up until October 7th, nobody was talking about Palestine. Not a single person, right? It was like a dead issue. It was at the verge of like nobody has heard a thing. Nobody has heard a thing. And another thing of why they went and the Hamas has reported that they went through with that is that every year, Israel does like some type of campaign, or every 2 years. They call it mowing the lawn, right? So they go and then they kind of instigate somehow. They draw a reaction, right? A rocket. Mm-hmm. That rocket comes in, then they go in full force. Their goal is to kind of cut down a lot of the resistance, intimidate, make people scared, remind them that they're under their rule, right? To kind of suppress the movement. So they had word that they were going to go ahead and do an attack the day after their Yom Kippur. So there was intelligence that was translated that Israel was already planning an attack on them. So it was like, in a sense, a preemptive resistance like a resistance attack. Mm-hmm. So it was a military insurgency. They went in. They grabbed, hostages as any military operation would. It wasn't a terrorist attack. It was actually proven that most of the civilians most of the people that were killed, the 1,400, if you will, 3/4 of them were soldiers, right? And then it's been proven through Israeli press that a lot, like about 80% of those people that were killed at the rave, right, were killed via Israeli helicopters. Why? Because they seen all of these people running. They couldn't wait. They couldn't determine who was hostile, who was friendly. So they went ahead and just started massacring everybody. This was issued by the Israeli press. Every lie that they issued, right, has been debunked and disproven by their own media, their own press, their own government came out. The 40 beheaded baby story came out. The president of the United States came out and said he saw a picture of 40 beheaded babies, right? This is like, think of how mind-blowing this is, that we have a leader of one of the strongest nations of the world come out and blatantly lie that he said he saw a photograph of 40 beheaded babies. As soon as that he was done with that press conference, his press secretary, whoever it was, they came out and they walked it back. Oh, well, he didn't actually see the photograph. We were told about the photograph. And then immediately the Israeli military and the government retracted that statement, said there was no evidence of 40 beheaded babies. It's just one lie after another. And this is how they try to manipulate and control the narrative, because they've been doing it so efficiently for 75 years.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah, 75 years.
They're not the only one.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? And we have to wrap it up here. He's going to ask you some questions, probably a final question before we go. But the lies in everything will not stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
you know what I mean? We would never get the 100% truth in anything.
But you must always seek it, though.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Keep going.
Yeah, we must
keep going.
Exactly.
For sure. You keep seeking.
And that little bit of knowledge that we have, you spread it.
You spread it.
Exactly.
Definitely. But we would never know like the 100% truth. I wish we could tap into your family there. one day, and
maybe we can even put them on Zoom.
On
If
Zoom.
I'll see if I-
they might not be able to. Though,
I'll see if I could maybe. I'm not promising anything, but I'll see if I
Right.
could put
Just
something
to check in on
yes,
them and
somebody,
see how
and
it-
get word maybe
get
from someone
word
directly
and-
over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
On
I
the
think
ground.
I think it'd be good if we got like somebody else from the other side to
Yes.
talk about this, because
I mean, I'm
this
willing
is
to
stuff
debate
I've never.
anybody. I'm willing to debate anybody.
And
You
this
gotta
is something
bring
I've never
somebody to
heard.
debate on the
Right,
subject.
right.
Yeah.
I got a few people that I can, some Israelis. And
Yeah, I mean,
Judaism.
I don't mind debating on it. Why?
Right.
Because, like I said, we have facts.
Right.
And
Yeah.
facts speak volumes.
And that's
you
the
know
thing.
what I mean?
That everybody has to come with facts.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's always gonna have discussions, debate. It's
Yeah.
fine.
And
We're here. You
yeah,
know,
and
it's
I'm-
all safe spot.
And like I
you
said,
know?
I'm always open to a meaningful and open dialogue.
Yeah,
If it's-
exactly.
And the
yeah.
one thing about us, we not really biased. Like he
Yeah.
said, he's
Nah.
Christian, and
Yeah.
I was raised
Yeah.
Christian.
I'm
I mean, I'm not either.
I've never been biased
we
of
just wanna
anybody.
listen. We wanna hear-
I mean, for example, I have since I've been put since the situation took place, and I've been posting nonstop content about what's going on. My DMs are filled.
I'm sure.
Filled with hate. I've had this one Israeli soldier in Israel, right? He contacted me maybe for one of my posts. It got 30,000 views. So I'm guessing through one of those posts, they're becoming aware of my page. So he DM'd me, some hateful stuff.
Just explain what it is. What other than the cussing part, like
Yeah, it was like-
but what was anything valid he was trying to make a point to?
Okay, well, for example,
I'm sorry. 2 minutes and we gone.
For example, he literally told me that he was gonna hire an Arab trader to come and find me and kill me. Right? That was one. Second of all, they're sitting there. He's sending me videos of innocent civilians being killed, and he's bragging about it. So I went ahead and reiterated, and I sent him a video of their Israeli tanks being destroyed. So, and I told him, I said, you want to brag about taking innocent lives of women and children? I said, well, look at what they're doing to you guys, right? They're not targeting innocent people like you guys are claiming. Look at who they're targeting. And then this guy, he ended up sending me a response back. He said, well, you guys kill one or two of us, and we kill entire families.
Damn.
Right? This just shows the logic of these type of people. These people are truly evil, and they have a belief to where they are superior, and that needs to go. The world needs to be exposed to what Zionism truly is. And it's a racist ideology rooted in settler colonialistic tendencies, that came from Europe with the support of Europe. And Europe was, is historically the number one colonizers of the world.
Yeah.
We definitely gotta have you on again.
Yeah.
This isn't over.
No, it's not over.
And even to get your people, we can get them on Zoom.
Oh, we didn't tell him this. You guys want to read this to him? Read it to him, my man.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I need
Alright.
some water if I'm going to
Yes. So what I was saying is that I came across the Balfour Memorandum, and that was written in 1919. And there it is for you guys.
Hold it
you
up
guys,
for a second. Maybe somebody can.
You guys can
screenshot
find it on the United Nations. Well, it's going to be a little difficult. I'll post links for it because
I'm
it
sure
took
they
me.
can screenshot
Yeah,
it
it took me a while to kind of dig this up, but just the language of it pretty much outlines what the goal was for the Zionist people and their support by the British Empire. So it says, the four great powers are committed to Zionism, and Zionism, be it right or wrong, good or bad, is rooted in age-long traditions, in present needs, in future hopes of far profounder import than the desires and prejudices of the 700,000 Arabs who now inhabit that ancient land. So it is literally telling you right here that they are going to back up the Zionist movement and the aspirations and geopolitical goals of the Zionist people without any consideration of the indigenous population of Palestine. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. And you guys want to have me on, we could definitely run that back. I appreciate you guys.
We got it. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
man.
definitely, bro. Definitely.
because we Americanized.
Yeah, I mean, I'm American too. People don't understand.
But your knowledge of everything that's going back in the Middle East and Israel, and your family's country, it can enlighten us and our viewers and everyone else more about even in a small debate. You know what I mean? Of someone from Israel, tap in, my friends, if you're from Israel.
Anybody.
your family's from Israel and you've been doing your research and you want to tap in.
And
have a
just so you know,
discussion.
we keep it civil in here.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, you ain't
Keep
gonna
it
fight
cordial,
in here.
keep it professional.
I'll tell you that.
Show them the bomb, though. Show them the bomb.
Right.
Grenade.
Got the grenade hand
You
in
ain't
here.
fighting in here. It's all
So,
debate
come
and
with
it's all
respect.
love. Even if you guys talk, I mean, it could all end up love at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I know y'all been seeing them on camera, so you know how it is. There's two of us in here.
Careful, man. I might have to call the police on
We
you.
got the gun show going on in here, so come with respect. We would love to have
Yeah.
you to get a small debate on what's going on in on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that we did good. Like that last question, I liked
Okay,
it,
for
man.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thank
Always
you.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a new
appreciate it.
experience for us.
Right.
So this is a different podcast we've done. We have not done this one yet,
Right.
and we definitely got to have you on back.
I mean, like I said, I appreciate it because, like I said, we're in a time that's never taken place before. So right now is the most essential time to get as much information out to the people
Yes.
as quickly as possible.
I'm thinking even having you on next Tuesday again, like maybe 11:30 before we do the other one. Just have it. We can always figure something out.
I'll see if that
12:30.
works.
yeah,
I'll
let me know.
maybe
Let
by
me know.
tomorrow.
And if not, there's
12:30
another
would be
Tuesday.
good.
So every Tuesday
Gosh,
we go.
yeah, well, I'm
So-
definitely come back.
Okay.
It'd be better for me than
12:30. Okay.
We all on camera talking time.
I know. Well, hey, they know how it is, man.
We always on House of a Bass. I'm Ronnie Adams.
I'm Jacob Casas. Shed the sheep, and we're out.
We out.